Hey, freedom lovers, this is William Moore. Welcome to Beyond the Ties That Bind. Before I get going on this program, which is going to be a really good program, good information for people, but before I get going, I want to address a topic that is all over the news lately. I mean, you can't turn on your television, you can't go to the internet without hearing or seeing something about this topic. I mean, every third or fourth Facebook post is about this topic. And, I can see why people are a little bit upset, but I don't quite understand why there's such a furor over it. Um, Apparently, there's a lot of people out there that drink Corona, and apparently, there's been a virus introduced into the formula. Uh, I guess this stuff is brewed in China. So, anyway, and I'm not a big beer drinker, but I can see why people are upset because whatever this virus, is, it makes your beer taste like somebody farted in it. So, but really, people, I mean, it's not that big of a deal to where you have to post about it left and right. And if you really want a beer that goes down smooth, may I suggest Samuel Adams, named after the first proto anarchist. This is good beer. And that's coming from a person who rarely drinks beer. So, anyway, when I do, it's Samuel Adams. So, anyway, on the other side of the intro, we've got a great show lined up for you. And everyone, don't worry about this coronavirus. I'm sure those people in China will take care of it, and your beer will taste however it tasted before this thing hit. See you on the other side of the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Ties That Bind. I'm William Moore, your host for the program. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that comes up in conversations that you have with statists, or as I like to call them anymore, Fednecks. Um, this is something that a lot of us have probably ran into at one time or another. I know that I've ran into it. You're having a conversation with someone, you're talking to them about how despotic the United States government is, the things that you don't like about government, why you want to see government dissolved, abandoned, abolished, and they'll come back at you with this canned comment. Well, if you don't like America, you need to leave America. Well, if you don't like the country, you need to leave the country. America, love it or leave it. Well, anyway, they feel that they're answering your complaints concerning government. First of all, I want to put forward I do not hate the country. I despise this government. I love the country, but I despise the government. I absolutely hate the government. And everyone, as they continue to educate themselves in what government does, should hate the government too. Anyway, if you don't like America, leave. They feel that this is an answer to your concerns. Well, first of all, this is not an answer, but a rhetorical soundbite by someone who doesn't want to discuss the issues which have been put forward by you. It makes them feel good for the moment, and it also offers them what they perceive to be a safe haven from challenging new information that they've been confronted with. The if you don't like it, leave is basically it's nothing more than a tactic to shut down a conversation. And this tactic is employed by a person who's not capable of critical thinking. They suffer from cognitive dissonance. And so, anyway, this entire if you don't love it, leave it, this argument's a false dichotomy, as if to presume that the only two options available are, like all policies of the government, are leave the jurisdiction of the government, when actually several other practical options are available, including peaceful protest, and then what I'm doing, using a platform to educate others concerning the errors of the present system. And that present system, as I've stated before, does nothing more than murder, lie, and steal. It destroys lives. So I like to use a platform to get out there, educate others concerning the errors of the present system, that being the United States government. So I'm not about to leave the jurisdiction of the United States government. Um, so, you get a lot of these people, love it or leave it. If you don't like America, you can leave it. Well, those who make such statements are really bullying others, most likely due to the fact that they themselves are too lazy to acknowledge problems within the system, and instead they choose to avoid the conflict with the system by running away from the topic, running away from the issue, running away from any of the thing that you bring up. So a person who doesn't suffer from cognitive dissonance would be open, definitely open to discussing issues as well as potential solutions. So when a person tells you that, hey, you don't like America, why don't you just leave? They have no ability to think critically, and they do not want to discuss the issues. They don't want to discuss any potential solutions. They just want to hide behind that statement so they don't have to deal with reality. Um, and really, just because a particular entity has control or perceived control over a geographical location does not make that entity legitimate. So I don't believe or accept the premise which implies the country belongs to the government. The country does not belong to the government, nor do I believe that by having a problem with the government, I'm less invested in the place where I was born, where I grew up, and where I live. That's just ludicrous for people to think that you don't have any kind of investment in where you live just because you have a problem with the government. Completely ludicrous, but anymore nowadays, that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the public. So, in reality, it's the government which should leave. The continent known as America existed long before the current crime syndicate was established in 1787 at the beginning of the Constitutional Convention. So the government doesn't hold any naturally ordained right to demand consideration for its authority. Apparently, people believe there's a social contract. There is no social contract. When you are born, you are a free individual. And um, as you grow up, you can make a determination and you can decide what you agree with and what you disagree with. And if you are a person who loves freedom, you will, at some time in your life, come to the crossroads and be forced to make a decision as whether or not government is legitimate and whether or not government is criminal. And if you truly love freedom, you will take the road less traveled, which says government is not legitimate and government is criminal. So, anyway, these people, they come to you as, well, America, you either love America or you leave America. You hear me? Well, thank you, Cletus. But I I do appreciate that you have the freedom to express your ignorant opinion. But really, if you think about it, there is literally nowhere on planet Earth which is free from this government's interference or influence. So, if one leaves the sphere of the United States government's domestic policy, it does not guarantee safety from the United States government's foreign policy. So, either way, one's going to be subject to tyranny at home or abroad. There's a lot of people that you talk to them And they have been so brainwashed into believing everything about this country, from the myth of the founding fathers and the birth of the nation. They've been so brainwashed to believe everything concerning, the first American War of Independence, and then the what they call the Civil War, which was the Southern War of Independence, or the Northern War of Aggression. They're so brainwashed into believing things, this canned history, and they're brainwashed into believing things that are repeated from news channel to news channel to news channel, and they don't think for themselves. So when you actually expose these things, of course, cognitive dissonance kicks in, and they don't want to believe that they've been duped. They don't want to believe that they've been fooled. So they reject any kind of new information that's being given to them, and they don't even consider the new information. So, and the one thing that they don't think about, if they were to really think critically about the situation, is, as I stated, there is nowhere on earth that is free from the United States government's interference or influence. So if you leave this geographical area that is dominated by the United States government's domestic policy, it does not guarantee you safety from the United States government's foreign policy. Either way, you're going to be subject to either tyranny at home or tyranny abroad. So, when you engage with these people, remind them also that they probably have issues with the United States government themselves. So turn it back around on them. I'm sure that there's people that have a issue with the United States policy of giving tax dollars to Planned Parenthood. So you can engage them with that issue. You can engage them within the issue of gun ownership and how everyone should have the freedom to own guns, and you can talk to them about your agreement there and ask them, okay, do you agree with what the United States government is trying to do and has done in the past concerning gun ownership? And then when they say they don't agree, then say, well, does that mean that you then must leave this land in which you were born? If they don't agree with how the United States government uses taxpayer dollars to fund Planned Parenthood, which operates only to provide abortions, if they don't agree with that, then turn it around on them. Say, since you don't agree with this policy of the United States government, does that mean that now you have to leave this land where you were born? So turn it around on them, but also go over some of the things that I had mentioned here previously, and let them know this is just a rhetorical soundbite because you don't want to discuss the issues which I'm putting forward. You're just trying to avoid, you're trying to deflect. Because, like I said, if you don't like it, leave is nothing more than a tactic to shut down conversation. And that tactic is being employed by a person who's not capable of critical thinking. But it's our responsibility to make them think critically. So anyway, this is William Moore for Beyond the Ties That Bind. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. Until next time, peace.